What is up, guys? Jay the Stingray back here once again. And I'm going to start doing a new series of videos on my channel. I've been thinking about this for quite a while, and I'm ready to go ahead and get started here. So this is going to be Pulp Fiction ripoffs, and whether or not you can think of them off the top of your head, there were quite a few of these movies in the 90s. It was kind of a crazy year for film, but I actually loved that period of time in film quite a bit. There's lots of really bad movies in that period of time. There's also lots of really good ones. And today I want to start with 11 to 45. And this is a film that I discovered on VHS, back in the days before the internet. You either had somebody tell you about it or you just kind of discovered it. And that's what I did. And I've never heard anybody talk about this film before. But it's strange because it's really got a lot of big actors in it. This is Renee Zellweger was in this the same year as Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. So this is like right before she got big with I don't know, Jerry Maguire or whatever one of those movies was around that period of time. That she kind of hit it big, and never would have made a movie like this otherwise. But yeah, this is one I used to rent on VHS quite a bit. I really enjoyed it, and I love that Pulp Fiction style. It's really right up my alley. So I watched most of these pretty soon. When they came out, if not in the theater. But yeah, a lot of people call this a Pulp Fiction ripoff. A lot of people call it a Natural Born Killers ripoff. But the interesting thing is, this was released in November of '94. Pulp Fiction was released in October of '94, and Natural Born Killers was released in August of '94. So, it's, I don't think, really enough time there for any of those films to copy each other. But, obviously, Quentin wrote Natural Born Killers, or wrote a script for it. I don't know if he wrote the actual one. I forget the whole story there. But, yeah, you can see similarities to both. Natural Born Killers in that it's, it's love on the run type story, and it does have a lot of stylistic elements, I think, that are familiar, because similar to Natural Born Killers. Like there's a scene when they're riding in the car, Starlene and Waddy Watts. That's the two leads in the film. Renee Zellweger and Gil Bellows. But they're riding in the car, and obviously it's not a real car. Rarely is it, but it's extremely obvious because they're projecting like weird stuff in the background. I can't even remember exactly what it was, like just some weird patterns or something. But I think Natural Born Killers does that exact same thing, but I think they do it a little bit more in that movie. But yeah, this film has got a lot of what I'm going to say charismatic assholes in it. It's got a lot of really memorable character actors, and just other even characters that aren't even on screen for that long, but they're very memorable. I really like the casting in this film. I think it's one of the better things about it. This is Renee Zellweger, I think, is the star of the show. She's really the selling point of this movie, the reason to go see it. I'd recommend this to all you guys. I really think it's like a diamond in the rough almost, because I never hear anybody talk about it, but it's a really fun film. Renee Zellweger is absolutely stunning in the film, and she hardly ever wears anything more than just like a bath cloth, so you get to see quite a bit, and it just reminds me of how disappointing, and maybe not disappointing is not the best word, but just upset I am that she went and messed her face up with all that plastic surgery, just because she was had such a unique look that I think really worked well, and just messed it all up with that stuff. But anyway, that's a video for another day. But yeah, this film basically, Waddy Watts, Starlene, they're a couple in love, and this whole movie starts. The whole thing starts from him buying her an engagement ring, but he had to borrow some money from the local mafia to get it. So anyway, he does that, and you don't find that out till a little bit later on. But the film opens up with him. He's robbing a convenience store, and lots of really interesting dialogue there between him and the young boy. This boy's like 14 years old, and lots of really interesting dialogue because it's not stuff real people would ever say, and I think you see a lot of that in Quentin's movies too. But obviously this is not done as well, but just lots of really weird terminology and phrases that people wouldn't use in a real life situation. But anyway, I mean, it kind of works okay here. I don't know. I watched this film like 3 times to prepare for this video, so it did kind of get on my nerves a little bit. The Waddy character, a little bit too much of that. I don't know what you'd call it, but too much of whatever it is. Um, uh, Unique, just weird the way he talks and does things. But uh, anyway, you find out that he's kind of like a criminal with a heart of gold or whatever. So he robs this place, and you find out because he doesn't ever do a job with a loaded gun. That's his main rule, and you find that out in this interaction between him and this store clerk, because he puts a gun out there, and the kid grabs it, and then he says, "Are you fast enough to shoot me before I can shoot you?" And the kid's 45. He says it's not loaded, but it's actually the other way around. Waddy's gun's not loaded; the other kid's is. So he winds up stealing all the money in the safe, the drop money, the bank money, and he gives the kid some of it. So yeah, he goes back, and then his buddy, this is Billy Mack. This is played by Rory Cochrane. Is He's got a job this is his old prison buddy, and he's got a job. They're gonna go rob this other convenience store, but shit goes wrong. Billy Mack does a bunch of crystal before he robs the place, and he actually has a loaded gun too. So anyway, he shoots this girl who he'd been having relations, and he had found out that there was supposed to be some money in the safe, up to $10,000 for a brand new bass boat, but that wasn't the case at all. So there was no money. Billy killed the girl, and then they get out of there, and Billy forces Waddy to take him to breakfast, and in that period of time he stabs him in the hand to escape. And from that point on, Billy Mack is just dead set on revenge. For some reason, he's like extremely pissed off at this guy, for whatever reason, even though he fucked it all up. But yep. So they're on the run from that point on. These two cops come looking for Waddy, and they're like, the girl that was killed is one of their nieces, so they're really interested, and they're trying to get Waddy to give them some information. Shit goes down, and they both shoot each other. So they get the hell out of there, and they're on the run now for apparently the murder of two cops, since that's what they're going to think happened. But yeah, they go on the run, and then this is my favorite scene in the movie, the one that always sticks in my head. Billy Mack has decided to change his appearance. He shaves his head, and he's getting a tattoo of like an eagle or some sort of a bird on his head. And the two guys that work for the hitman that Waddy borrowed the money from, they want the money back, so they're looking for him. They go find Billy Mack at this tattoo shop to get him to give them some information, and they grab the tattoo needle while he's getting it, and they stab him in the head. I just have the image of him being stabbed in the skull, basically, with a tattoo needle. And so he's got like a fresh tattoo that's like not even quite finished, and a big ass like wound on one side for the rest of the movie. But anyway, yeah. So now these three they team up to go find Waddy, and they wind up tracking down Starling's parents, who that's I didn't mention Dinosaur Bob and Creepy Cody. That's the two kind of henchmen for the mafia there. And Dinosaur Bob is played by Jeffrey Combs, obviously, great actor there. And then Jace Alexander plays Creepy Cody, and Creepy Cody's like, he's real quiet. He doesn't ever say a whole lot, and they're both speed freaks too, so they're snorting speed the whole time. And but he reminds me a lot of if you remember what Courtney Gaines looked like in The Burbs, just really crazy and wide-eyed the whole time like that. But anyway, they're real interesting, and I like to refer to these characters as charismatic assholes. There's quite a few in this film. Um, but anyway, Starlene's dad is played by Peter Fonda, which is kind of interesting, and he and her mom are they're old hippies, so their whole relationship's kind of funny. And anyway, they go there, and then Starlene and Waddy leave. They go get married on the way to Mexico to hopefully escape this whole thing. But turns out Billy Mack and the other boys they track down the parents. They kind of force the Mexico that they're going to Mexico out of these two parents, and wind up killing them in the process. Dinosaur Bob gets shot in the stomach, and he dies in the car after they leave. And then Billy Mack kills Creepy Cody, as he was such an asshole anyway. But yeah, the whole thing comes to a head when Billy Mack kind of takes them hostage, and they all head to Mexico together. And the whole thing plays out there at the end with a kind of a Mexican standoff type thing. But yeah, really well done. Just I'm so surprised nobody ever talks about this movie. I enjoy it quite a bit, and highly recommend it to you guys. And I'm not so sure that I would be recommending many of these Pulp Fiction ripoffs to you. So I think it's a good place to start because it's like right at the very beginning of when these started. And this is directed by C.M. Talkington. That's a crazy ass name, but I don't think he hasn't done really anything since, and I've never really heard of him at all other than this movie. But one thing that does make this movie stand out from the other ones mentioned is this takes place in Texas, so kind of interesting there. It's nice to hear them talk about Texas. Drive around Texas, as it's a huge place. But yeah, if you have anything you want to tell me about this film or about Pulp Fiction or any memories you have from that period of time, please do so. And as always, I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.